Welcome back to the Deep Dive, listeners. Today we're taking a different approach, exploring the personal journals of someone who claims to have experienced some truly incredible things.
Oh, wow. Sounds interesting. Personal accounts can be, well, really insightful. It's like getting a glimpse into how people make sense of the world, especially when it comes to the unexplained.
Exactly. And the source material we'll be diving into is I Am the Specialist of the Strange by Dakota Frandsen.
Okay, I've heard that name before, vaguely. He's into the supernatural, right?
He is. Dakota claims to be, well, an expert in all things supernatural, and his journals chronicle a lifetime of encounters with the otherworldly. I mean, we're talking ghosts, monsters, government conspiracies, even time travel.
Wow, that's quite a range. Time travel. Now, that's something I'd love to hear more about.
Well, there's plenty of that. But just to give you an idea, he talks about being abducted as a child by these tall, gray beings, only to be rescued by this mysterious blonde woman who he feels like he knows somehow. And then there are encounters with shadowy figures who offer him like these dangerous deals, and he even claims to have a star wife and hybrid children from, get this, a past life on another planet.
A star wife from a past life. Okay, you've got my attention. Where do we even start with a story like this?
Right. It's a lot. But I think the best place to begin is with his past life on this planet he calls Talihara. He says he was part of their military, the Tal Shiar. And get this, they supposedly helped the Nazis during World War II.
Now, that's an unexpected connection. The idea of Nazi occultism has been researched quite a bit. There's even a book called Black Sun by Nicholas Goodrick Clark that delves into the historical ties between esoteric beliefs and Nazi ideology.
Really? I always thought that Nazi occultism thing was just, conspiracy theory stuff.
Well, there's definitely a lot of speculation, but it's interesting how Dakota weaves his personal story into this historical context. He even mentions Maria Orsic.
Wait, who's that?
Maria Orsic was a real person. She was linked to Nazi occultism and
Yeah.
supposedly received telepathic messages that supposedly led to the development of advanced weapons, even Nazi UFOs, if you can believe it.
It's definitely a wild story.
Yeah.
He then describes fighting a draconian and escaping from Talihara with 3 children.
Draconian, what's that? Like a dragon?
Sort of. In a lot of alien encounter stories, they're described as these, like, reptilian beings, usually evil.
Ah, I see. And escaping with children, that adds a real human element to what sounds like an incredibly intense experience.
Hmm.
It makes you wonder if these early events, shaped his worldview and maybe even led him to seek out these extraordinary experiences later in life.
That's a good point. Like he was, I don't know, maybe primed for this kind of stuff from an early age. So anyway, after escaping Talihara, he ends up joining the Galactic Federation of Worlds, where he meets a Tashkira woman named Tivina from a planet near Sirius B. They eventually get married.
Sirius B, that star system comes up a lot in like New Age and UFO circles. And a Galactic Federation of Worlds reminds me of like classic science fiction,
Yeah.
advanced civilizations working together and all that.
Yeah, it's like he's drawing inspiration from like real-world beliefs and pop culture all mixed together.
Definitely a blend of influences. And this marriage to Ivina seems pretty important to his story. They both joined something called the Starseed program, which involves envoy missions to Earth. Are you familiar with the term Starseed?
Vaguely, I think it's about people who believe they come from other planets, right?
Right. It's the idea that some people's souls originate from other star systems and that they've like incarnated on Earth for a specific reason. It ties into beliefs about reincarnation and, living multiple lives across different dimensions or realms.
Oh, wow. So like a cosmic version of finding your purpose, except your mission comes from another planet.
Exactly. It really makes you think about our sense of identity, right? What if our true origins are beyond Earth? What if we're all, connected on a deeper level through some shared cosmic heritage?
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. This is getting pretty deep.
It is. And it gets even more interesting when we consider Dakota's childhood abductions, which happened right here on Earth. He says he was taken from his mom's house in Jerome, Idaho.
Jerome, Idaho, is that like a small town?
It is. But anyway, he was taken by these tall gray beings that he calls X5.
Ah, the classic gray aliens, right?
Huh.
I wonder why he calls them X5, though. Like, are there different types of grays?
No, maybe. He doesn't really go into detail about that. But he describes being rescued by, you guessed it, a familiar-looking blonde woman and taken on a joyride through space. Then, of course, he gets his memory wiped and returned home.
Classic alien abduction stuff, the memory wipe. It all sounds like a movie.
Right. But then he connects this abduction to an actual euphoric report
Yeah.
from a couple who experienced missing time while driving near Twin Falls, Idaho around the same time.
Twin Falls, that's not too far from Jerome. So maybe there's something to this.
It's certainly interesting. Missing time is often subjective, hard to prove. But when you connect it to other people's reports, it adds another layer to the story.
Definitely makes you wonder. And this is just the beginning. We haven't even touched on his encounters with those shadowy figures or his exploration of demonology or his, like, psychic abilities.
It's clear that Dakota's story is, well, full of strange and extraordinary stuff. Whether you believe it or not, it raises some big questions about reality, the limits of what we can perceive, and the possibility that there's a lot more to the universe than we understand.
Yeah, for sure. But before we go any further, I think we need to understand the role these shadowy figures play in his life. They keep popping up, offering him these, like, tempting deals, almost like they're trying to lead him down a darker path.
Yeah, those encounters are definitely worth exploring. They seem to represent a darker side to all this, maybe a warning about the dangers of venturing into the unknown.
That's a good point. Let's delve into that next. It's like these shadowy figures, especially the Hat Man, are both fascinating and kind of scary, Like, they offer Dakota power and knowledge, but there's always a price.
Right, like a classic Faustian bargain, that
Yeah.
temptation for forbidden knowledge, power, but at what cost? It's a reminder that venturing into the unknown can have, well, consequences. And it's not just metaphorical either.
Yeah, and it gets real when Dakota investigates that haunted highway department building. He's convinced that these spirits are, like, attacking his family, so he tries to negotiate with them to stop the attacks.
It's an interesting concept, negotiating with spirits. It suggests that, communication is possible between the living and the dead,
Right.
that there's this realm beyond our senses where these encounters can happen.
And he claims he caught evidence of this too, like strange faces in photos and voices on recordings, the classic paranormal evidence.
Right, those photographic and audio anomalies. Some might be explained away as, natural phenomena or just glitches, but others, well, they remain unexplained, which fuels the mystery.
So how do we, like, know for sure what's real? I mean, how do you
Well,
tell the difference between genuine evidence and hoaxes or just misinterpretations?
It's tough. No easy answers. It often comes down to critical analysis, examining the context, considering other explanations. But there's always a degree of uncertainty, which is part of what makes these stories so intriguing. They force us to confront the limits of our understanding and consider the possibility that there's more to reality than we can grasp.
Definitely. And for Dakota, this encounter at the highway department seems to, like, fuel his fascination with the darker side of things. He
Yeah.
starts exploring demonology, even mentions a specific demon, Marcosius, and even experiments with summoning rituals during a really tough time in his life.
Demonology is it's a complex field with roots in so many different cultures and beliefs. Studying demons and their powers, the rituals to summon them, it can be risky, especially if you're, emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah, it's like he's drawn to the darkness, even though it scares him. And this pull toward the supernatural gets stronger after his grandfather dies, a major personal loss. It's like he's seeking answers in the unexplained, trying to, I don't know, maybe make sense of his grief.
That makes sense. Grief and loss can be powerful triggers for spiritual exploration. The need to connect with loved ones who've passed or to find meaning in their absence, it often leads people down these paths.
Right. It's a way to cope with the incomprehensible, to find some comfort in the face of the unknown. And he's not alone in this. Lots of people turn to the supernatural or spirituality during times of crisis or loss.
It's a very human response. When we face events that challenge our understanding, we search for explanations, for connections that offer some solace, a sense of control. And for some, those answers lie in the supernatural or the spiritual.
And for Dakota, part of that solace seems to come from his developing psychic abilities. He claims he can talk to spirits, even tries to reach a daughter named Olivia. He becomes fixated on finding her, convinced that she's, well, more than just his imagination.
Psychic abilities are often reported alongside these paranormal events: telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, mediumship. Trying to contact someone who's passed, that falls under mediumship, the practice of communicating with spirits.
And it's not just, like, intuition or feelings. He uses all sorts of tools and techniques in his search for Olivia. Divination, a necrophonic app. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds intense. Even age progression software. Like, he's determined to find her no matter what.
That's interesting. Using technology in paranormal investigations, it's a fairly recent development. The Necrophonic app, for example, is designed to capture and analyze EVPs, those electronic voice phenomena, the voices or sounds on recordings that some believe are paranormal.
It's like he's merging the supernatural with technology, like a tech-savvy shaman or something.
It is a fascinating blend. It reflects this trend of integrating technology into spiritual and paranormal exploration,
All right.
trying to make the intangible tangible, to measure the immeasurable.
Right. But even with technology, Dakota's search for Olivia is full of challenges. It leads him to some pretty dark places, both literally and figuratively. He talks about witnessing a war between heaven and hell while working with an international paranormal group. He even named some of the players: Cain, Lilith, Lucifer himself.
Bringing in those biblical figures, it adds a layer of familiarity, right? It taps into these archetypes, the battle between good and evil, light and darkness.
And he's not just watching from the sidelines. He claims he's right in the middle of it, rescuing Lilith, even encountering Cain, who's portrayed as this menacing, manipulative figure.
And that raises some interesting questions about the nature of reality. If these realms exist, these battles, what does that say about us, about our place in the universe?
It's definitely mind-blowing. And this war seems to be a turning point for Dakota. It leads him to this amazing revelation, the truth about his star family.
Ah, yes, the Star family. What does he reveal? What's this Star family like?
He reunites with Ivina, his wife from that past life. But get this, his earthly wife is actually an incarnation of Ivina. Like their souls are connected across lifetimes, drawn to each other across time and space.
Reincarnation is a concept in many spiritual traditions, this cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. And the idea of soulmates reuniting across lifetimes, it's quite romantic.
A love story spanning dimensions, for sure. And it gets even more complex. Dakota says he has hybrid children with Ivina, and their family keeps growing, even adding a new baby, and his son getting engaged to a Zygon woman.
A Zygon. Now, for our listeners who might not know, Zygons are, well, shape-shifting aliens from the Doctor Who universe. They can infiltrate human society by taking on the appearance of their victims.
So he's mixing in pop culture references. It's intriguing, but it also raises questions about his experiences. Is he drawing on fiction to, like, understand his own life? Or is he genuinely encountering these beings? It's hard to say for sure.
It's definitely a mix of influences. Ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide what resonates with them, what they believe. But his story is captivating. It speaks to this fascination with the possibility of life beyond Earth, of meeting other intelligent beings, maybe even finding love and family in unexpected places.
Absolutely. And as his star family grows, Dakota talks about how people react to his story. He mentions facing doubt and disbelief, struggling to reconcile his claims with a world that often dismisses the unexplained.
It's natural to be skeptical, especially with claims like these. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Approaching these accounts with an open mind while still thinking critically.
Yeah, finding that balance. He wants to share his truth, but also, protect himself from ridicule. But despite those challenges, he ends his journals with a message of hope and self-discovery. He encourages people to embrace their own unique experiences, no matter how strange or different they may seem.
That's a powerful message, whether you believe in star families and interdimensional wars or not.
Right.
Embracing your individuality, seeking understanding, even when faced with the unknown, it's something we all strive for.
That's what makes Dakota's story so captivating, right? It's a journey of self-discovery, spiritual exploration, and this search for connection in a vast and mysterious universe.
He challenges us to broaden our understanding of what's possible, to consider that reality might be more intricate, more multifaceted than we currently see.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about. What about you? What sticks out to you most from this dive into Dakota's journals?
So many fascinating parts, but what really resonates with me is his constant curiosity, his determination to find answers, even when he's faced with doubt and ridicule. He reminds us that the search for knowledge and understanding, even in the face of the unknown, is, well, it's a journey worth taking.
And that's something we can all take with us, whether we believe in star families and interdimensional battles or just embrace the mystery and wonder that life offers.
Yeah.
One thing that really stands out to me in Dakota's story is how he uses technology. I mean, it's this weird mix of the ancient and the supermodern.
Yeah. It's like on one hand, he's using, divination, summoning rituals, stuff that's been around forever. But then he's also using like age progression software and that Necrophonic app to try and talk to spirits. It's pretty wild.
It is. It's like he's a a tech-savvy shaman, blending ancient wisdom with cutting-edge tech.
It's definitely a trend we're seeing more and more, right? As technology gets more advanced, people are trying to use it to, well, to explore the spiritual and the paranormal in new ways.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, like, what if technology could help us, unlock the mysteries of consciousness or even communicate with other dimensions? The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
Definitely. But beyond the technology, there's this theme that keeps coming up in Dakota's journals, this idea of connection that I find really fascinating.
Yeah, you're right. Whether it's his connection with his family, both his earthly family and his star family, or his connection with other people who've had similar experiences, or even his attempts to connect with those who, doubt his story. It's like he's driven by this deep need to belong, to be understood.
And that's something we all crave, right? That sense of belonging. Even people who claim these extraordinary experiences, they still want validation. They want to share their stories with others who might get it, who might believe them.
Absolutely. And what's also interesting is that he's not just like passively accepting these experiences. He's actively investigating, searching for answers, even confronting those shadowy figures that represent, well, a darker side of things.
That's important, that sense of agency. He's not a victim. He's taking control of his narrative, even though it challenges, our conventional ideas about reality.
Exactly. And his journey doesn't stop with, discovering his star family or getting caught up in these interdimensional wars. He's always searching for a deeper understanding of himself and his place in the universe.
That's what makes his story relatable, even if you don't buy into all the specifics. He's always questioning, challenging assumptions, confronting his own limitations.
He's like this perpetual student of the strange, always pushing the boundaries of what he knows. And in doing so, he kind of encourages us to do the same, to question our own beliefs, to embrace what makes us unique, and to explore, the vast possibilities that are out there.
It's a call to action for all of us, regardless of what we believe, to approach life with curiosity, with courage, and an open mind, to recognize that our stories, no matter how strange or how ordinary, they have this power to connect us, to inspire us, and to expand our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Dakota's story has definitely given me a lot to think about. It's been a wild ride exploring his journals with you.
It really has, and it leaves us with this profound question to ponder. If we accept that reality might be far more complex, far more multifaceted than we currently understand, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for our place in the cosmos?
It's a question we'll probably be wrestling with for a long time. And who knows, maybe Dakota is out there right now, continuing his explorations, pushing the boundaries of the unknown, reminding us that the universe is full of, well, full of wonders yet to be discovered.
It's a hopeful thought, isn't it? Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the extraordinary world of Dakota Frandsen, the specialist of the